Hello, everybody. Welcome to the very first episode of Raw, the Real Authentic Woman podcast. I am your host, Lana, and thank you for being here today. I gotta be honest, there is nothing more intimidating than just speaking into a mic. So we will see how this goes. But before I jump right into this episode, I kind of wanted to give you guys a little bit of background on what this podcast is and kind of what I see it becoming. So I originally had this idea about 4 years ago when one of my girlfriends and I got together and just started shooting the shit. Like, how cool would it be if we just started a podcast about our own lived experiences, maybe mixed with encouraging and empowering women. And I've kind of just been sitting on this project for so long because, I don't know, I feel like a part of me was fearful. I felt like, I didn't really have the courage to kind of step into my voice and be vulnerable in this way. And I also think I was holding back because I wanted to start this journey with my friend. But I don't know, I've reached a point where I can't hold this in anymore, and I can't ignore this calling. So here I am. I'm embarking on a new journey, and I guess we'll see what the fuck happens. When I think of what I want this podcast to be, more than anything, I just want it to be a safe space. I want it to be a safe space where people can find community. Because I think a lot of times, especially as women, I feel like we have a lot to say, but we rarely have the chance to be heard. So I want to cover topics that I feel like aren't being talked about as much and use my own lived experiences to hopefully reach people who need to hear it. And I really just want to encourage others to be able to walk into the world being completely comfortable in who they are and not be afraid to go after what they want. Like, point blank, period. And when I was thinking about what I wanted this first episode to be, I really wanted to make sure that it was in alignment with what this podcast is. So today, I really want to dive deep into how to reclaim your voice. So to start this episode off, I have to start with a very nostalgic movie that really has influenced me on the journey to the reclaiming of my own voice. So anyone who grew up in the 2000s has definitely probably seen the movie Aquamarine, okay? And if you haven't, shame on you. But no worries, I'm going to give you a little bit of background on the film. It's about two best friends who are very different from one another. Emma Roberts' character, Claire, is very much this reserved, shy, hesitant girl. And then JoJo's character, Haley, is a lot more kind of tomboyish, badass, but still kind of holds back in her own ways. But they both kind of struggle with fitting in, even though they read all the magazines, they know all there is to know about boys, yada, yada, yada. And it isn't until this mermaid, Aquamarine, kind of comes into both of their lives and really helps pull that confidence out of them. And, I feel like this film was really impactful for me because not only was it just a good movie, okay, but it also was a great movie about sisterhood and about kind of, pulling that confidence out of each other. But I felt like I always related to Emma Roberts' character Claire, even though I really, really wanted to be like JoJo's character Haley or, Aquamarine, And the reason why I'm using this movie as an example is because I feel like a lot of women, kind of walk through life feeling like the Claire in their story, right? Shy, reserved, hesitant. And I really just want to break down why that might be and how to steal your power back, how to get your voice back. First things first, okay? I feel like it's so easy to fall victim to the societal standards that are placed on us as women. I mean, it feels like from the beginning of time, women have been put in this box of like being the housewife, emotionally holding everyone together while also making sure that we look our best 24/7, right? And while, yes, I feel like there's definitely been change and growth in some of these stereotypes, I just feel like it is so rooted in our society, and I feel like it still holds a heavy influence on women today. Not to mention, like, we as a society in general are more distracted than ever. We're constantly being exposed to unrealistic lifestyles, unrealistic body standards, beauty standards, like, you name it. And I feel like it really triggers how we feel about our own self-image. Like, we need to be a certain way in order to be happy or in order to be liked, like, fuck. Social media came to exist in the world at probably one of the most vulnerable times of my generation's life, okay? Like, I was a fucking pubescent teenager just begging to have boobs, bro, okay? Like, I was ready to steal my mom's bras and just stuff them to the fucking nines and act like I was about to be on an episode of Jersey Shore, okay? Like, that's just what it was. And now you factor in this whole new way to express yourself, Like, so now I'm not only comparing myself to my peers at school, but now I'm comparing myself to all these other people online. And I just think, like, how fucking insane that is and how much it must have fucked with our heads growing up, and partially why I feel like it's hard for women or people to feel like they can just naturally exist and show up as themselves in the world today. Because we were exposed to that at such a young age and such a vulnerable age. And like growing up for me, I just naturally wanted to fit in, like I wanted to be around the popular group or whatever. And I started to become heavily influenced by some of the girls in my class. Like a lot of them had phones and had social media before me. And so like, I just thought they were the coolest ever. And so I started wearing my hair like them, dressing similar to them. And I even started to like talk like them, So by the time I was in high school, I was completely hiding behind this false identity that I had created for myself. Because I was so fucking concerned of what other people thought of me, but I also just wanted that validation of being liked and paid attention to. And I look back on it now and I'm like, fuck, that is so cringe, like gross, but you know what? We still love that version of her. It's okay. She didn't know what she did. She didn't know, But I think what's so scary about that is that once you've worn this mask for so long, you actually start to believe that you are this person you are projecting to the outside world. And that's fucking terrifying. Towards the end of my senior year of high school, I really started to recognize that I was, in fact, surrounded by a lot of fake-ass people who really just didn't care about me. And I think my higher self kind of knew that, okay, it's time, like change is coming, like it's time to make a change. And I need to say this. The first part in reclaiming your own voice is recognizing that something needs to change. When your unhappiness starts to outweigh the need for validation, that's when you know it's time to make the shift. Okay? So it wasn't until I got to my first year of college that I really kind of stopped relying on other people's validation and just started being me. And then I actually started to find people who saw me for me and reemerged this image of myself that I just hadn't known or hadn't seen in a very long time. And it was just so refreshing to be around people who actually took the time to get to know me and actually gave a fuck about me. I think as women, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be a certain way out of fear. And for so long, I think I was so scared to just be myself because I didn't know how people were going to react. I didn't think that they would like the real me. So I guess I thought it was just easier to pretend to be somebody else because I was receiving the validation that way. And I just craved that feeling of wanting to be liked and wanting to be popular. But when I got to college, I just released all that shit. And I met these girls who just saw me for who I was and embraced me, not for what I looked like or what fucking clothes I had or how many likes I was getting on Instagram, you know, but just for me. And I think, here's the thing, okay? You're not wrong for hiding who you are. And you're not wrong for feeling like a fraud or feeling misunderstood and confused about who you actually are. You've just outgrown your current environment, and the universe or your higher power is just nudging you to kind of make that change and go explore, go meet new people. You know, we don't have to be bound to the places or the people that don't bring us peace. So, you know, we need to learn how to let go and be ready to explore another chapter. All right. Deep breath here. Before I just start, you know, throwing spiritual shit out here, I want to be very transparent about how I address my higher power. So throughout the podcast, I will probably address my higher power as the universe because that is just what I am most comfortable with. But please know this is a safe space for you. So please use whatever name or understanding you have for your own higher power. I just really wanted to establish that before we got too in the weeds. But the funny thing about the universe is that it will keep sending you the same lessons until you figure this shit out, okay? So here I was, you know, I had just gained this new found confidence in me thanks to the sisterhood that I had built with these girls. And then my junior year of college, I had the opportunity to go to another school to continue my athletic and academic career. And I was like, fuck, I got to do this, you know? Well, shit, bitch, you might as well have thrown me right back into high school because here I was going to this frickin' small town school in rural fucking Ohio, okay? I felt like I was back in a place where I needed to prove myself in order to be liked. And that was fucking terrifying. I was terrified. And one specific moment that stands out for me during this time, and is actually what I feel like really cemented me into trusting my own voice, happened within the first week of being down there. So quick side story, you know, I'm about to walk into my first college party, and let me just paint the scene for you, okay? This is a giant house party. It's giving high school backyard bonfire and nobody's parents are home. Okay. So everybody's kind of in their own little cliques, just like talking, vibing, whatever. So I'm walking in with my new roommate, who is also my new teammate. And mind you, I know nobody, not a single fucking soul yet. So naturally, I'm leaning on my new teammate to kind of introduce me to new people, kind of get me in the clique or whatever. Nope. The moment we get there, this bitch just leaves me for the birds. I mean, she just completely ditched me. And I was like, oh, okay, so that's what we're doing. Sweet. And now I'm fucking terrified because I'm extremely uncomfortable in an environment that is extremely triggering. And I don't know what the fuck to do. So, for the first time, in my life, I considered what I wanted out of this situation, I took a deep breath and I remember just saying to myself in my head, well, you have two options. One, you can conform again and probably be miserable. Or two, you can be yourself and just see what the fuck happens. Because at the end of the day, all you have is you. And so I was like, fuck it. You know what? I'm about to just be me. I paid no mind to my roommate. And I went around and I met people, I even made some new friends. And by the end of the party, bitch, I got laid. So, I mean, shit. It was a win-win situation for me. But after that moment, it was such a pivotal moment for me because by the end of my college career, I had finally walked away, knowing that I was myself, and I walked away with great friends that I will have forever, And I felt like I finally started to feel like I was the Haley in my story, or I was the aquamarine in my story, right? Now, the point I'm trying to make is that there are going to be times where you're going to want to put that mask back on because it's just easier to fly under the radar and not be seen. And it's just easier to kind of be somebody you're not and just try to fit in. But I'm telling you, that is not the way to a meaningful life. And that it's not worth it, You are always meant to be you because your higher power made you to be exactly who you are for a reason, So why the fuck would you want to be anybody else? And why the fuck would you want to hide that, And believe me, it's easier said than done. But it's who you are. And before we end here, we have to face the hard truth. We have to face the reality. The last point I want to make is that rediscovering who you are and reclaiming your voice takes time. And it takes discipline and real effort to get to know yourself. You have to have the courage to look at yourself in the mirror and ask, who am I and who do I want to be? I'm here to tell you, though, it is so worth it. To live free in being who you are and not be bound by these shackles of validation anymore is the most liberating feeling. Because you don't have to put up this front, you don't have to try to fit in or appease other people. And that's so exhausting anyway, right? And here's the thing. When you are authentically yourself, you attract the people you are meant to have in your life. Once I stopped pretending and I embraced the parts of myself I refused to get to know, I fell in love with life again. And I made meaningful relationships that will last a lifetime for me. The point is, we must learn how to trust who we are and have the courage to show it. It goes back to this, right? It goes back to imagining yourself as a character or as a person you aspired to be when you grew up. Only now we're all grown up, babe. You know, you get to decide who you are. It's your story. So if you take anything away from this first episode, please let it be this. Your worth is not defined by the outside eye. You have the choice and the freedom to decide who you want to be. But the question is, are you willing to find yourself? So, I encourage you to take that leap. Spend some time in solitude and find the real you. You have to surround yourself with people who embrace the parts of you that you didn't even know were there. Because at the end of the day, all you have is you. Shit. Okay. Well, that was a lot. I'm going to hop off my soapbox now. Hope I'm using that term correctly. But, I think we've officially reached the end of the first episode of Raw, the Real Authentic Woman podcast by Lana. If you listened to till the end, I really appreciate it. And hopefully you took something from this. And yeah, tune in next time. Who knows what I'm going to dissect next week, but hope to see you there. So, alrighty. Thanks. Bye. Peace.